Hey guys, what's going on? This is going to be my solo good tier list for Viktor Part 2. Starting off with Ari, I'm moving her higher in Tier 1 rather. Mostly because, as I talked about my draft mode tier list when I updated it about a week ago, I really feel that she doesn't really have a weak point in the game, and I think that really transfers over into solo queue quite well. She has tons of survivability, tons of sustainability with her passive, and lots of people just rush. Will the Ancients, and you just have ridiculous lifesteal. You never can be pushed out of lane. You're always pushing your lane just as hard as anyone's pushing you in. I mean, she really covers all the bases really well. Granted, she does take some skill. She's got the skill shots she's got to land and all that junk. But I think if you get down her learning curve, she's really powerful. And I really think that she's ban-worthy or pick-worthy in solo queue almost all the time because I feel that she's actually that strong. So because of that reason, I have moved her up higher into Tier 1. Alright, next, Riven. Despite Riven being nerfed, coming up soon, from what the Riot said in their little patch preview, I still feel that she's Tier 1 worthy, even though I haven't seen what the nerfs are, but I still feel that her jungle and her laning ability is quite strong, and even if they mess around with the numbers a little bit, I think she's still going to be really good, and I probably should have had her up into Tier 1 before. It takes me a while to move some champs around. There's lots of champs, can't get it all right 100% all the time. That being said, she's got great laning phase. Got the double damage stuns that she can throw, or one's like a mini knock up, and there's just a little AOE thing. But it really translates to her to just be like, I think she's almost like the definition of an attack damage bruiser. She's really strong damage wise. She's not afraid to jump right in and deal damage, take damage. And then she just, runs up with R and executes people. It's really fantastic. She's a lot of fun to play. I enjoy her, and she's also really strong. So that's pretty much why I moved her up into Tier 1, and yeah. So we'll see what happens with those nerfs. Singed moved into Tier 2. Singed is one of those champions that I thought I just had a little bit too low on my tier list when I look over it, and trying to ultimately define the tier list every week now. As I said, I want to do little mini updates opposed to big updates, and I felt Singed was a little bit too low, mostly because he has a great ability to, even if he loses his laning phase, he always has the ability to get back in the game because he farms so well. He pushes and he farms so well. He can just run up, get in there, just throw down the poison, clear entire waves of creeps, and just run around the map like a jerk-off, moving at like 500 MS with his ulti on, and then slowing. He's just so good at disrupting people and getting back into the game. And I think that's really powerful in solo queue. Lots of times I'll see, for instance, I'll play, someone picks Singed early, and I counter them with like a colleague or something like that, right? And I'll absolutely dominate the Singed in lane, right? And I'll go around moving the map, and if you leave the Singed alone, he gets farmed. He gets back in the game somehow every single time. And I think that's a really good quality that not a lot of solo queue champs have. Even if you fail early game, you can always come back and do more later. All people do is go like Rod of Ages, dodge boots, and then they just get like Randuin's Frozen Heart, Banshees, and that kind of stuff, and he's just unkillable tank that does tons of damage too. It's awesome, and I think that's what people really like about him, and I think that's what I really like about him, is that he has the ability to come back and be a strong threat as well as a tank. So yeah, that's why I moved him up. Rumble moved up to Tier 1. I feel his laning is crazy good. Not a lot of champions beat him. He's kind of hard to gank, and his team fighting is very strong with that ulti, with his speed burst. He can just get on. He can close gaps with targets. Common bruiser AP champ build is Will the Ancients and a Rylai's, and granted he doesn't use mana either. He can really just get in your face, lifesteal, and slow you. He really just sticks on you, doing tons of damage, and it's really hard to stop a Rumble who's done well in the laning phase. And he's coming into a team fight, so I think he's definitely Tier 1 worthy for solo queue. I actually might move him up higher, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Rumble right now. Sona I had way too low. Sona moved to Tier 2 because really it's Soraka and Sona that are just like the kings of solo queue in terms of support. The sustain, the damage, everything about them just makes them great. So I had her like in Tier 4, which is way too low. I was like, whoa, what the heck's going on there? So I moved her up to the bottom of Tier 2, just because I think she's really good support. Sustain, as I said, is great. The damage in lane is great. And she's overall just, her auras really help your team and all that junk, and she's really just a great champion for solo queue. I mean, if you're ever skeptical about what support to play in solo queue, just play Sona, sit in the back, spam your stuff, and you're probably going to play a decent support role. Yeah, and that's why I feel that she's strong in solo queue. Moving on to the next champion, we got Xin Zhao, moved down to tier 4. Every time I've seen Xin Zhao lately, he just really does nothing. He's not that great at jungle, he's not that great at laning, and he's just, I don't know why, like, Riot seems to always nerf this champion too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in a month from now, they're like, Xin Zhao probably needs a nerf, and they just, like, nerf him again. Like, that's how I feel, you know? Like, I think they nerfed him last time when Dominion came out, and I was just like, why did you nerf this champion? Like, he's not even good, like, and, you know, I just see him feeling, like, lower and lower and lower. Anytime someone picks him in solo queue, I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll see how he does, and it's like, always Xin Zhao, always fails. I've never seen a good Xin Zhao in the longest time, and that might not be, you know, because I'm seeing good Xin Zhao players, or chances are it's probably because Xin Zhao is on the weaker side, and compared to a lot of other junglers or a lot of top laners, he really, you know, shits the bed when it comes to who's strong and who's not. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Xin, and that's why I moved him down. Fiddlesticks moved down to tier 4. Fiddlesticks, I don't know, since they changed the jungle, you know, he's a little bit slower. He can be really counter jungle if you take Fiddlesticks as blue. If you stop him early in the game, he's literally counts for nothing. It's so much harder for Fiddlesticks to get back in the game if you take his blue early, unless he's like absolutely ruined and has like a mana regen page, which, you know, you probably don't because you're assuming you're gonna get blue. So he's really team dependent, I feel, when you jungle with him. I mean, he can't lane worth shit either. I mean, it's really poor laning phase. You know, he just gets beat by tons of champions. I mean, granted his early lane, if you manage to get up and fear them and then drain them, you know, you're gonna sustain and you're gonna live. But he's really susceptible to ganks. He's really easy to, you know, just win the lane verse because he doesn't cause that much of a threat, I guess. And yeah, that's just how I feel about him. I mean, if you stop his early game and you stop him from, you know, getting that blue and, you know, progressively going through the game, you know, he's already under farmed because he's not that great at jungling right now. And then if you take the blue, it's really just like, you know, a kick in the balls to Fiddlesticks. So he's so team dependent, and solo queue is just not an environment for him. And he is kind of lackluster right now too, so that's kind of why I moved him down. Fizz I moved down into tier 3. Kind of the same reason as Fiddlesticks. You know, he just doesn't do much well anymore. I mean, his top lane is okay, his jungle's okay, and he's just okay. So I think tier 3 really fits him well. Yeah. That's about it. Pantheon moved up to tier 2, moved up higher in tier 2. I felt he was a little bit low, kind of the same Singed effect. When I see Pantheon players come out, Pantheon really does well versus a lot of bruisers too. For instance, someone like Gangplank is ultimately countered by Pantheon with his shield. You throw him top versus Gangplank or a Tryndamere and stuff like that, or even casters. Pantheon is a great solo mid. He just like, someone picks Kassadin or LeBlanc, you just toss your Qs all day long. You're going to win that trade all day long. And he just, you know, he's really, I think, underestimated by a lot of people, and he's really fantastic in solo queue, and he's got that global for tons of ganks. He's really just overall pretty good champion now, and I feel he's a little underappreciated, so I am moving him up because of that. Shyvana I moved down to tier 4 because I really don't feel that she does anything. You know, people are like, oh yeah, I do so well in the jungle with her, I do so much damage, I'm so tanky, blah 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 blah. It's like, well, you can be just as tanky on a Nocturne or a Lee Sin or any of these guys, and they have way better kits. They can do just as much damage, and they can do, you know, they can do everything, but then better. So that's kind of how I feel about Shyvana. You know, she is viable. You can play her if you're a good Shyvana player, but like, there are way better jungle choices than Shyvana, and that's just how I feel about it. So I have moved her down. And my final change is Veigar. I moved up to tier 3. Oh, Veigar. Yeah, it took me a while to do this. I did this also in my last one. My draft mode tier list update is because it took me a while to feel out Veigar, and his recent changes with the mana nerfs actually really helped him out, and it made him, you know, a pretty decent champion. So I actually feel he's pretty viable, so I'm placing him in the top of tier 3. And yeah, that's my solo queue tier list, Viktor part 2, and I've actually left out Viktor in here, even though I intended to put him in here. I was actually going to put him on the low, I was going to put him in low tier 4, I believe. Dang, I actually can't believe I did that. Anyways, Victor's going to be placed in Tier 4 below Shyvana because he's okay when you hit 6. If you have a good landing phase and you hit 6, you can do a decent amount of damage, but it's just like, I just feel there's so many other AP champions that are better than him, and he really just is bleh. Like, I don't know, he's just, he needs buffs, in my opinion. I don't think he's that good, and he's really hard to use, very skill shot oriented, very timing-wise and all that junk, so that is how I feel about Viktor, and I can't believe I didn't put him in here before I updated this. Oh well, I'll do that right now. Anyways, thanks for watching. Viktor going Tier 4, Bobby Tier 4. Yeah.